Welcome back to United Daily Updates, your most reliable source for Manchester United transfer news. Hello everyone and welcome back to United Daily Updates, the YouTube channel that brings you the latest Manchester United news every single day without fail. If this is your first time watching one of our videos, please take a moment right now to hit that subscribe button and turn on your notification bell. We are building the biggest and most engaged community of Manchester United fans on YouTube. This is the place where we come together to discuss transfer news, match previews and reviews, tactical analysis, player performances, and absolutely everything related to our beloved club. We are not just another football channel that throws random rumors at you for clicks and views. We are your most reliable and trusted source for accurate information and honest, intelligent conversation about Manchester United Football Club. Today we have some really interesting and important transfer news to share with you. This news involves the midfield situation at Manchester United, which, as we all know, has been a problem area for quite some time now. We have been talking a lot recently about various midfield targets. We discussed Ayal Bouadi from Lille in France. We talked about Quinten Timber from Feyenoord in the Netherlands. We mentioned Premier League players like Elliot Anderson from Newcastle, Adam Wharton from Crystal Palace and Carlos Baleba from Brighton. Well, today we have news about a completely new name that has suddenly entered the conversation. Manchester United are reportedly very interested in signing João Gomes, who currently plays for Wolverhampton Wanderers. And what makes this story particularly interesting and worth discussing in detail is the massive price difference. João Gomes would apparently cost Manchester United around £60 million less than Carlos Baleba from Brighton. That is a huge difference in transfer fees. But before we dive deep into who João Gomes is, what kind of player he is, and why United want him, let me ask you some really important questions that we need to think about carefully. Have you heard of João Gomes before today? Do you watch Wolves games regularly and know what kind of midfielder he is? Do you think Manchester United should be looking at and considering players from struggling teams like Wolves who are currently fighting relegation? Would you rather see United spend the big money on Carlos Baleba, who has more potential but costs significantly more? Or would you prefer United save £60 million by getting João Gomes instead and use that saved money to strengthen other positions in the squad? Is saving £60 million actually worth it if João Gomes turns out to not be as good as Carlos Baleba? Should Manchester United be shopping at clubs like Wolves, or should they only be targeting players from the very best clubs? These are all really important questions that we need to explore and discuss together. Stay with me throughout this entire video because we are going to cover absolutely everything you need to know about this developing story. We will talk about who João Gomes is and where he came from. We will analyze what kind of player he is and what his main strengths and weaknesses are. We will discuss why Manchester United are interested in signing him. We will compare him directly to Carlos Baleba and see how they stack up against each other. We will debate whether this transfer actually makes sense for United. And we will talk about what this all means for Manchester United's plans for the January transfer window. This is going to be detailed, comprehensive and informative, so get yourself comfortable. Maybe grab a drink, and let's dive into this story together. Understanding why Manchester United are looking at so many different midfield options. Before we talk specifically about João Gomes and Carlos Baleba and compare the two players, we first need to take a step back and understand the bigger picture. Why exactly are Manchester United looking at so many different midfield options right now? What is the overall strategy here? What is the thinking behind all of these links to different midfielders? The midfield has been a genuine problem area for Manchester United for quite a long time now. This is not news to anyone who watches United regularly. Everyone can see it with their own eyes. The midfield simply does not control games the way it should at a club of Manchester United's size and ambitions. It gets overrun and dominated in the big important matches against top teams. It struggles to create enough quality chances consistently for the forwards. It lacks the technical quality, the tactical intelligence, and the physical presence that you absolutely need if you want to compete for major trophies like the Premier League and the Champions League. Ruben Amorim has now officially taken over as the new Manchester United manager. He has been appointed to turn things around and get United back to where they belong. He has spent time carefully analyzing the squad in detail. He has watched matches. He has studied individual players. He has assessed strengths and weaknesses. And he has clearly identified the midfield as a priority area that needs urgent strengthening. According to various reports from multiple reliable sources close to the club, Amorim wants to bring in two brand new midfielders. One signing needs to happen in the January transfer window, which opens in just a few weeks. Another signing will happen in the summer transfer window. This is a very clear and deliberate strategy from the new manager. Amorim is not messing around or wasting time. He knows exactly what he needs to fix. He has communicated this clearly to the club's recruitment team and they are working together to identify suitable targets who fit his system and philosophy. But here is the really interesting and important thing to understand. Manchester United are not just looking at one single player and putting all their eggs in one basket. They are actively looking at multiple different options simultaneously. And this is actually really smart planning and good transfer strategy. Carlos Baleba from Brighton and Hove Albion has been mentioned frequently as one of United's top targets in midfield. He is young, he is talented, he is performing really well in the Premier League, and he has huge potential for the future. But here is the problem. Brighton want an absolutely enormous and frankly ridiculous transfer fee for him. Various reports suggest they are demanding somewhere around £104 million. That is a truly massive amount of money for any player, let alone a 20-year-old midfielder who has only been playing at the top level for a short time. It is probably far too much money for Manchester United to spend on just one midfielder when you consider all the other positions across the squad that also desperately need strengthening and investment. So what does Manchester United's recruitment team do when faced with this situation? They look at alternatives. They identify other players who could potentially do a similar job but cost significantly less money. This intelligent approach allows Manchester United to strengthen the midfield while also having substantial money left over in the budget to strengthen other critical areas like central defence, left back, or even the forward line. This is precisely where João Gomes enters the picture and becomes relevant to this discussion. According to reports that have come out of Portugal, specifically from a publication called Record, which is generally considered reliable for Portuguese football news, Manchester United are genuinely interested in signing João Gomes from Wolverhampton Wanderers. And the absolutely key detail that makes this story so interesting is that he would cost around £60 million less than Carlos Baleba. That is an absolutely massive price difference. That is the kind of money that could be used to sign another really good player in a completely different position. Now I know what some of you might be thinking immediately. Cheaper surely means worse quality, right? If João Gomes costs £60 million less than Carlos Baleba, that must mean Baleba is the significantly better player, correct? Well, not necessarily. The reality of football transfers is much more complicated than that simple equation. Transfer fees are influenced and determined by many different factors that go way beyond just pure quality and ability. The selling club's financial situation matters enormously. Contract length remaining matters. The player's age matters. Which league they play in matters. Whether the selling club actually wants to sell or is desperate to keep the player matters. Sometimes you can genuinely find players who are almost as good in terms of pure ability but are significantly cheaper because of all these other contextual factors. So Manchester United are being smart and strategic here. They are exploring all of their available options carefully. They are comparing different players against each other. They are weighing quality and ability against cost and value for money. They are trying to find the absolute best value for money that allows them to strengthen multiple positions across the squad rather than spending absolutely everything on just one single player and having nothing left. This approach and strategy makes a lot of sense when you think about it carefully. Manchester United have made extremely expensive mistakes in the transfer market before. They have overpaid dramatically for players who ultimately did not work out and were not worth anywhere near what was paid for them. They desperately need to be smarter and more intelligent in how they operate in the transfer market going forward. Looking at alternatives, comparing options, and finding genuine value for money is an important part of being smart in the transfer market. Who is João Gomes and where did he come from? Let me give you a proper detailed introduction to João Gomes because I am willing to bet that many of you watching this video probably do not know very much about him at all. Some of you may never have even heard his name before. He is 23 years old. He was born in Brazil. He currently plays for Wolverhampton Wanderers in the Premier League. His primary position is as a defensive midfielder or a central midfielder depending on the system and formation. And despite playing for a Wolves team that has been struggling badly this season and is currently in a relegation battle, he has actually been one of their better and more consistent performers. João Gomes came through the youth system and academy at Flamengo in Brazil. If you do not follow South American football closely, let me tell you that Flamengo are genuinely one of the absolute biggest clubs in all of South America. They have an absolutely massive fan base that numbers in the tens of millions. They have a proud tradition and glorious history. They regularly compete for the Brazilian league title, which is called the Brasileirão. They also compete in the Copa Libertadores, which is South America's equivalent of the Champions League. Playing for Flamengo and wearing their famous red and black shirt is a really big deal in Brazilian football culture. João Gomes progressed through all the age groups at Flamengo's academy and eventually broke into their first-team squad. He managed to establish himself as a regular starter in their midfield despite intense competition for places. He played in big important matches with high pressure. He gained valuable experience competing for major trophies in South America. He developed and improved his game consistently at a genuinely high level of competition. And his consistently good performances over time naturally caught the attention of clubs in Europe who are always scouting South America for talent. In January 2023, Wolverhampton Wanderers made the decision to sign João Gomes from Flamengo. They paid a transfer fee that was reported at the time to be around £15 million. For a club like Wolves, this represented a pretty significant investment and financial commitment. For João Gomes personally, this was an absolutely huge opportunity and a massive step up in his career. Moving from Brazilian football to the Premier League is an enormous jump. The Premier League is widely recognized as the best, most competitive, and most intense league in world football. Many South American players grow up dreaming of one day testing themselves in England and proving they can succeed there. Since joining Wolverhampton Wanderers in January 2023, João Gomes has gradually become an increasingly important player for them. He has played regularly and consistently in their central midfield. He has shown his quality and ability on a weekly basis. And significantly, he has adapted to English football considerably better and quicker than many South American players manage to do. The Premier League is notably faster, much more physical, and significantly more intense than the Brazilian league. The style of play is different. The demands are different. Not everyone can successfully handle that major transition and adjustment. But João Gomes has genuinely coped well with the challenge. This current season, Wolverhampton Wanderers as a team have been struggling really badly. Their results have been poor. Their performances have been inconsistent. They are currently involved in a serious relegation battle and are in genuine danger of being relegated down to the Championship. When a team is losing regularly and everything feels chaotic, it is really difficult for individual players to perform well and show their quality. But despite all the struggles that Wolves have had as a team, João Gomes has actually continued to be one of their better and more consistent players. He has maintained his standards even when those around him have struggled. This fact has clearly caught Manchester United's attention and interest. When a player continues to perform well for a team that is struggling and losing regularly, that often demonstrates genuine quality and strong character. It is relatively easy to look good when you play for a winning team with quality players all around you helping you. It is much harder to maintain your standards and keep performing when your team is losing games and everything around you is falling apart. The fact that João Gomes has managed to do that at Wolves this season says something positive about him as a player and as a person. The report that came out of Portugal suggests very clearly that João Gomes would be genuinely open to making a switch to Old Trafford and joining Manchester United. This makes complete sense when you think about it logically. Manchester United are obviously a much bigger club than Wolverhampton Wanderers in every possible way. They can offer significantly higher wages and better financial terms. They can offer the realistic chance to compete for major trophies. They can offer European football either in the Europa League or Champions League. For any player currently at Wolves, especially with the club fighting desperately against relegation, a move to Manchester United would obviously be extremely attractive and appealing. The report also specifically mentions that Wolves' precarious and dangerous position in the league table could potentially be used as a bargaining chip in negotiations. What this essentially means is that Wolves might be more willing and open to selling their better players if they are desperate for money to balance the books or if players themselves want to leave what looks like a sinking ship. Clubs that are involved in relegation battles sometimes have no choice but to sell their best players to raise funds quickly. This difficult situation could potentially work in Manchester United's favour when it comes to negotiating a reasonable transfer fee. So that is who João Gomes is in a nutshell. He is a 23-year-old Brazilian defensive midfielder who joined Wolves from Flamengo, has adapted well to the physical demands of the Premier League, has continued to perform consistently even while his team struggles, and is now attracting serious interest from much bigger clubs including Manchester United. What kind of player is João Gomes and what are his main strengths? Now let's get into the really important details that actually matter most. What kind of midfielder is João Gomes exactly? What is his playing style and how does he approach the game? What are his main strengths and best qualities? What are his weaknesses and limitations? And most importantly, what would he actually bring to Manchester United if the club decided to sign him? João Gomes is primarily and predominantly a defensive midfielder. This is his natural position and where he plays most of his football. His main role and responsibility on the pitch is to protect the back four defenders. He positions himself in front of the defense and acts as a shield and barrier. He works hard to break up opposition attacks before they become dangerous. He wins the ball back for his team through interceptions and tackles. He provides essential defensive cover and protection that allows the more attacking players further up the pitch to push forward without constantly worrying about getting caught on dangerous counterattacks. One of his biggest and most noticeable strengths is his excellent ability to win the ball back for his team. João Gomes is really good at reading and anticipating the game. He can predict where the ball is likely to go next. He positions himself intelligently to intercept passes. He can step in front of opponents and cut out passing lanes before attacks even develop. This kind of defensive awareness, anticipation, and intelligence is genuinely really valuable in modern football, where most teams try to play through the midfield and build attacks patiently. His tackling ability is also notably strong. João Gomes is absolutely not afraid to put his foot in and make strong challenges when necessary. He wins his individual physical battles against opponents. He competes hard and does not back down. The Premier League is extremely physical and aggressive. You absolutely need midfielders who can handle and embrace that physical side of the game. João Gomes has consistently shown over his time at Wolves that he can compete physically with the very best players in England and come out on top. Energy, stamina, and work rate are another absolutely key part of his game and what makes him valuable. João Gomes covers an enormous amount of ground during the course of a 90-minute match. He is constantly running, pressing opponents, chasing people down, closing space. He willingly does the ugly, dirty, thankless work that does not always show up prominently in statistics and highlight videos but is absolutely crucial and essential for overall team success. Every successful team needs players who are willing to do this kind of hard, unglamorous work without complaint. His passing ability is decent and reliable. Now, he is not going to spray spectacular Hollywood passes all over the pitch like Kevin De Bruyne or spraying 60-yard crossfield balls. That is simply not his game and not what he is asked to do. But he can play simple passes accurately and reliably to help his team keep possession of the ball. He can recycle the ball effectively without taking unnecessary risks. He does not give the ball away cheaply in dangerous areas, which is really important. For a defensive midfielder, this level of passing ability is actually perfectly good enough. You do not necessarily need to be a creative genius. You just need to be reliable, safe, and not lose the ball in dangerous positions where it could lead to your team conceding goals. Physically, João Gomes is clearly a good athlete with strong physical attributes. He has decent pace and speed for a midfielder. He has really good stamina and endurance that allows him to maintain his work rate and intensity for the full 90 minutes without fading. He is strong enough physically to compete and win battles against bigger, stronger opponents. The physical side of his game is definitely one of his strengths. One really important quality that should absolutely not be overlooked or underestimated is his mentality, attitude, and character. João Gomes has continued to perform well and maintain his standards even while his team has been struggling badly and losing games regularly. Many players would let their heads drop in that kind of difficult situation. Many players would stop trying as hard or give up. But João Gomes has maintained his professional standards throughout. This demonstrates strong character, mental resilience, and excellent professionalism. Manchester United desperately need more players with exactly this kind of strong mentality and character in the dressing room. However, we should also be completely honest and realistic about his potential weaknesses and limitations as a player. João Gomes is not a particularly creative player. He is not going to create lots of goal-scoring chances for teammates or rack up lots of assists. His job and role is primarily defensive rather than creative. If Manchester United are specifically looking for someone to unlock tight defenses with brilliant killer passes, then João Gomes is probably not that kind of player. His goal-scoring contribution is also quite limited. Defensive midfielders are obviously not expected to score many goals, but it is definitely a nice bonus when they occasionally do. João Gomes does not really contribute much at all in terms of goals scored. This is not necessarily a major problem, but it is worth noting and being aware of. There is also a legitimate question about whether he is actually good enough for a club with Manchester United's huge ambitions and expectations. João Gomes is clearly a solid, reliable Premier League standard midfielder who does the basics well. But is he genuine Champions League quality? Is he the kind of special player who can genuinely help Manchester United compete properly with Manchester City, Liverpool, and Arsenal? Or is he ultimately just a decent squad player who is fine but not exceptional? This is a really legitimate question that needs very careful consideration. Overall and in summary, João Gomes is a hard-working, reliable defensive midfielder who does all the basics really well. He protects the defense effectively, wins the ball back consistently, works incredibly hard, and keeps things simple without taking unnecessary risks. He is reliable and consistent week to week. But he is not spectacular, he is not special, and he does not have that wow factor. He is a good solid player rather than an exceptional, potentially world-class one. Who is Carlos Baleba and how does he compare to João Gomes? To properly understand this entire story and make an informed judgment, we absolutely need to talk about Carlos Baleba in some detail. He is the player that Manchester United have been most strongly linked with in recent weeks and months. He is apparently one of United's preferred targets for strengthening the midfield. But Brighton and Hove Albion want an absolutely enormous £104 million for him, which is a truly massive amount. So how exactly does Carlos Baleba compare to João Gomes? Let's break it down carefully. Carlos Baleba is 20 years old. He was born in Cameroon in Central Africa. He currently plays for Brighton and Hove Albion in the Premier League. He plays as a central midfielder, which is similar to João Gomes, but his role is slightly more box-to-box rather than sitting quite as deep as a pure defensive midfielder. Carlos Baleba joined Brighton from Lille in France last summer in 2023 for a transfer fee of around £25 million. He is still quite young and very much still developing and improving. But even at this early stage of his career, he has already shown some really impressive qualities and attributes that have quickly caught the attention of much bigger clubs across Europe. When you compare the two players directly, Baleba is noticeably more athletic than Gomes. He is faster and quicker. He is stronger physically. He is more dynamic and explosive in his movements. He can cover ground really quickly. He can make powerful driving runs forward with the ball. His pure physical and athletic attributes are genuinely exceptional for a midfielder of his young age. Baleba is also considerably more comfortable and confident when carrying the ball forward into attacking areas. He can dribble past opponents with the ball at his feet. He can drive forward through the middle of the pitch and take players on. This ability to progress the ball quickly through the central areas of the pitch is extremely valuable in modern football where teams often sit deep and compact. His tackling and defensive work are also excellent and comparable to Gomes. Like Gomes, Baleba is really good at winning the ball back for his team. He is aggressive and front-footed in his challenges. He is absolutely not afraid of the physical battle and contact. He embraces it. Where Baleba has a really significant advantage over Gomes is his age and therefore his potential for future development. Baleba is only 20 years old. He is still really young. He is still developing and improving rapidly. His ceiling, meaning how good he could potentially become, is much higher than Gomes. He could realistically develop into a truly world-class midfielder over the next few years. Gomes at 23 is closer to being the finished product already. What you see now with Gomes is probably pretty close to what you will get. He will improve a bit but not dramatically. However, Baleba also has some disadvantages when compared to Gomes. He is considerably less experienced overall. He has not played anywhere near as many games at the top level. He is still quite raw and rough around the edges in certain aspects of his game. He makes mistakes that come from youthful inexperience and poor decision-making. Gomes is noticeably more polished, refined and reliable right now in the present moment. The absolutely biggest difference between the two players is obviously the price tag. Brighton and Hove Albion want £104 million for Carlos Baleba. That is an absolutely enormous fee that makes him one of the most expensive midfielders in world football. João Gomes, on the other hand, would cost somewhere around £40 to £45 million based on reasonable estimates. That represents roughly £60 million difference in price. That is absolutely massive. So which one represents better value for money? This is the absolutely key question that Manchester United's decision-makers need to carefully answer. Is Carlos Baleba genuinely worth £60 million more than João Gomes? Is his higher potential and ceiling worth paying that absolutely massive price premium? Or should United be more sensible, save the money by buying Gomes, and then use those significant savings to strengthen other positions across the squad? There are genuinely good arguments on both sides of this debate. If you genuinely believe that Baleba will develop into a world-class player over the next few years, then maybe paying £104 million is actually worth it for potentially 10 years of a genuinely elite midfielder. But if you think he might not quite reach that world-class level, then you will have wasted an absolutely huge amount of money that could have been spent elsewhere. João Gomes represents the much safer and more conservative option. He is already proven in the Premier League. He is reliable and consistent. He will give you solid, dependable performances week in, week out. He will not blow you away with moments of brilliance, but he also will not let you down with terrible performances. And absolutely crucially, buying him leaves Manchester United with substantial money remaining to spend in other positions. This is the genuinely difficult decision that United's recruitment team, scouts, analysts and coaching staff need to carefully make. Do they go for big potential or proven reliability? Do they take the high-risk, high-reward option or the low-risk, moderate-reward option? There is no obviously right answer. Why Manchester United are seriously considering the cheaper option? Let's talk about and carefully analyze why Manchester United might genuinely seriously consider buying João Gomes instead of Carlos Baleba, even though most people would probably agree that Baleba has significantly more potential for the future. The first and most immediately obvious reason is money and budget constraints. Football clubs, even extremely rich ones, do not have completely unlimited budgets. Even wealthy clubs like Manchester United have to work within certain financial constraints and limitations. Financial fair play rules strictly limit how much you can spend each season. You have to balance the books properly. You cannot just throw unlimited money at every single problem. Manchester United need to strengthen multiple different positions across the squad. The midfield desperately needs help and reinforcement. The central defense needs strengthening. The left-back position could use an upgrade. Maybe even the attack could use another option. If Manchester United spend £104 million on Carlos Baleba, that is almost their entire transfer budget completely gone on just one single player. Then they cannot afford to also sign a defender, another midfielder, a left-back, or a forward. But if they spend approximately £45 million on João Gomes instead, they suddenly have around £60 million left over in the budget. That substantial remaining £60 million could be used to buy another good midfielder. Or it could buy a quality centre-back. Or a left-back. You can strengthen 2 or even 3 different positions instead of just one. This approach makes the overall squad significantly stronger and more balanced. The second important reason is that João Gomes is already completely proven in the Premier League. He has been playing in England for nearly 2 full years now. He has consistently shown that he can handle the unique intensity, physicality, and demands of English football. There is absolutely no adaptation period needed whatsoever. He could arrive at Manchester United and perform effectively immediately from day one without any settling in time. Baleba is also playing in the Premier League, so he is proven there too. But he is considerably younger and significantly less experienced overall. There is naturally more uncertainty about how he would cope with the absolutely enormous pressure and expectations of playing for a club as massive and globally scrutinized as Manchester United. The third reason is that Manchester United have been badly burned by expensive signings in the recent past. They paid absolutely huge money for players like Antony, who cost £85 million, and Casemiro, who cost £60 million, and both have not lived up to their enormous price tags. They paid £80 million for Harry Maguire, who became club captain but never fully convinced. These hugely expensive signings have not always worked out well. Manchester United have learned the hard way that paying a massive fee absolutely does not guarantee success or quality. So perhaps a smarter and more sensible approach going forward is to spend less money on each individual player but buy more players overall to strengthen more positions. Buy 3 good quality players for £150 million rather than one potentially great player for £150 million. Spread the risk rather than putting all your eggs in one basket. The fourth reason relates to Wolves' current difficult situation. Wolves are struggling badly and fighting desperately against relegation. They might be desperate to raise funds quickly. They might be willing to negotiate downward on the asking price. Manchester United could potentially get Gomes for an even lower fee than initially expected if they negotiate cleverly and take advantage of Wolves' difficult position. Brighton, on the other hand, have absolutely no reason whatsoever to drop their asking price for Baleba. They are doing well in the league. They are financially stable and healthy. They do not need to sell anyone. So they can demand absolutely whatever they want and hold firm. The fifth reason is that Gomes fits a very specific need that United have. United desperately need a defensive midfielder who can sit in front of the defense and protect them. Someone who can win the ball back quickly and keep things tight defensively. João Gomes does exactly this job really well. Yes, Baleba might have more overall potential as a complete player. But does United specifically need what Baleba offers? Or do they more urgently need what Gomes offers? Sometimes the absolute best signing for a club is not necessarily the best player available in the market. The best signing is the right player for what you specifically need at a price that makes financial sense. João Gomes might be exactly that kind of signing. The arguments against signing Gomes instead of Baleba. However, in the interest of fairness and balance, there are also some really strong arguments against choosing João Gomes over Carlos Baleba. Let's be completely fair and honest and look at both sides of this debate properly. The first argument is about ambition and where United should be aiming. Manchester United should be consistently aiming for the absolute best players available. They should be trying to sign the players with the highest potential who can realistically develop into genuine world-class talents. Carlos Baleba clearly fits that profile and description. João Gomes does not. If Manchester United settle for good players instead of potentially great players, they are artificially limiting their ceiling and how good they can become. The second argument is the old saying that you usually get what you pay for. There is typically a reason why one player costs £104 million and another player costs only £45 million. The significantly more expensive player is almost always the better player with better attributes. Baleba is faster, he is stronger, he is more dynamic, he is more complete, and he has a much higher ceiling than Gomes. If Manchester United genuinely want to compete properly with Manchester City, Liverpool and Arsenal for major trophies, they need players of Baleba's exceptional quality, not just Gomes' solid quality. The third argument relates to age and potential resale value. Baleba is only 20 years old. If Manchester United sign him now and he develops really well over the next few years, they could potentially have a genuine world-class midfielder for 10 years or more. And even if they eventually decide to sell him later, they would almost certainly get a huge fee because he would still be relatively young and in his prime. Gomez is already 23 and will probably never be worth more than he is valued right now. There is much less potential for growth in his transfer value. The fourth argument is that signing players from relegated or relegation-threatened teams is genuinely risky. Wolves are currently fighting desperately against relegation. There is obviously a reason why they are struggling so badly. Maybe their players, including Gomez, are not actually as good as they appear. Maybe Gomez only looks decent because expectations at Wolves are relatively low. But would he still look as good at a club like Manchester United, where expectations are absolutely massive and the pressure is incredibly intense? The fifth argument is about the message it sends. Wolves are at absolute best a mid-table club, currently fighting relegation. Manchester United should not be shopping at clubs like Wolves. They should be shopping at the elite level. They should be competing with Manchester City and Real Madrid for the very best players in world football. Buying players from Wolves sends completely the wrong message about the club's ambition and direction. These are all completely legitimate concerns and valid arguments. Choosing João Gomes over Carlos Baleba could genuinely be seen as settling for less and lacking ambition. It could be seen as Manchester United not having enough confidence or belief to compete for the very best players anymore. This is genuinely the debate that Manchester United's decision-makers are probably having internally right now. Is it smarter to spend less money and carefully spread the budget across multiple signings? Or is it actually better to spend big on the one player with the absolute most potential, even if it means you cannot sign anyone else? What this story reveals about Manchester United's current transfer strategy. This whole João Gomes versus Carlos Baleba situation actually tells us and reveals quite a lot about Manchester United's current transfer strategy and how they are thinking about recruitment. Let's carefully analyze what we can learn from this. First, it clearly shows that Manchester United are being considerably more careful and thoughtful about their spending than they have been in the past. They are not just thoughtlessly throwing money at big-name players anymore without proper consideration. They are carefully considering value for money. They are actively looking at alternatives and options. They are comparing different players. This represents a noticeably more mature and sensible approach than in previous years. Second, it clearly demonstrates that Manchester United have real budget limitations and constraints. If they genuinely had unlimited money available, they would simply just buy Carlos Baleba without even thinking twice about it. The fact that they are seriously considering a significantly cheaper alternative tells you quite clearly that they have to be very careful and strategic about how they spend their limited budget. Third, it shows that Manchester United want to strengthen multiple different positions rather than just one. They are not going to spend absolutely everything on one single player. They want to spread the available money around intelligently and improve the squad in several different areas simultaneously. This is much more sensible squad building. Fourth, it shows that Manchester United are now willing to consider and seriously look at players from mid-table teams. In the past, Manchester United might have arrogantly turned their nose up at the idea of signing anyone from a club like Wolves. But now they are being more pragmatic and realistic. If a player fits what they need at the right price, they will genuinely consider him regardless of where he currently plays. Fifth, it shows that Manchester United were apparently priced out of moves during the summer transfer window. The report specifically mentions they wanted both Baleba and Conor Gallagher but simply could not afford them. This strongly suggests that United's budget is considerably more limited than fans might think or hope. They absolutely cannot compete financially with clubs like Manchester City, who seem to have virtually unlimited resources. All of this points toward a more strategic, careful and measured approach to transfers. Manchester United are genuinely trying to be smarter. They are trying to find value. They are trying to build a balanced squad rather than just collecting big names for the sake of it. Whether this approach will actually work and be successful remains to be seen. Smart, careful spending sounds really good in theory. But Manchester United fans desperately want to see the club competing for major trophies again. They want to see real ambition. Buying from relegation-threatened Wolves instead of buying from successful Brighton might feel like a significant step down in ambition to many supporters. The big challenge for Manchester United is finding the right balance. Be smart and careful with money, but also show enough genuine ambition to excite fans and attract top-quality players to the club. Would João Gomes actually be good enough for Manchester United? This is absolutely the crucial question that Manchester United need to properly answer before making any decision. Forget about the price and money for just a moment. Is João Gomes actually genuinely good enough to play regularly for Manchester United and help them compete for major trophies? The completely honest answer is probably that he would be good enough to be a useful squad player, but maybe not quite good enough to be a guaranteed automatic starter every week at a club with Manchester United's huge ambitions and expectations. Let me explain clearly what I mean by that. João Gomes is definitely a solid, reliable Premier League standard midfielder. Retry this response paused because Claude reached its max length for a message. Hit continue to nudge Claude along. Continue. Claude can make mistakes. Please double-check responses.